Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about how to use planes and uppercase T and lowercase t to determine how a box may sit or float in 3D space. I'm going to start off with, I'm going to draw this path and we're going to come back to it later. I'll draw it a bit like that. So, something that has always confused me when I first started drawing boxes was how to determine how it even sits in 3D space. Actually, maybe before that, how to even start. Because when we draw a box, it's like, it's a bit hard to visualize. I've always struggled with visualizing stuff until I've done a lot of drawing of boxes, and I feel like I can visualize stuff before I draw it a little better, although it probably is a bit of a challenge. And when I say uppercase T, I'm talking about not exactly a T, not like the letter T. So I guess it is important to understand that just when I say that, it's to kind of summarize it, because it's more of like a shape like that. And yeah, it is a T, but I guess it all depends if you're going to make the top of the T and the column of the T the same size, because I feel like if you were to truly make the T, it would have to be more of a rectangle-like shape rather than a T shape. And when I say lowercase t, that doesn't really make sense. I guess you could say when I was thinking of that one, it's probably because you could do smaller boxes as well. I mean, if you were doing like a perfect cube, it would be, all sides would be the same and it wouldn't really be a T at all, because all these sides are kind of extending in different places. So like this is like this right here, the corner is the one that's closest to the viewer. If I was going to draw it out further as a box, I could do something quick and dirty like that to show it. So effectively what I've done is I used a T to quickly act as the architecture of a box sitting in 3D space. I mean, I guess when you're drawing something, I feel like it all depends whether you determine if it's going to sit on something like a table or whether it's going to just like float in 3D space. Like here, it's kind of floating. If I drew a table, you could like draw it on a table, and heck, you can go further and even try to draw shadows to show how it, or to like reinforce how it sits on that table. So we have this T, and I think this T is pretty important because I actually didn't finish it. When you draw a box of any varying degree, you really define whether you want to draw all the sides of it. And when I say that, you could always go further with how you want to draw a given type of box, in which are you going to choose to only draw the visible sides? Because right here we only see 1, 2, and 3. We only see 3 visible sides, but if it's a box, what's important here to note is that it's an object that sits in 3D space. It has depth to it. So the reason why depth is important, it's important for being able to show the 3D nature of the given thing, and it's something you really carry with you as you hone a lot of your drawing skills. I mean, to me, it's really I still use it to this day. I feel like I can just never draw enough boxes, but I feel like I've gained a bit of a good understanding at how to utilize boxes more properly. Funny thing enough, like, it could apply to a lot of different things, whether you choose to pursue more fine art or whether you want to do more different types of work. Personally, I do some pixel art stuff. I'm a bit of a game developer, something I usually don't talk about, but I'll probably be talking about it more. But when I do it, I've really realized just how helpful it is to use boxes to explain stuff. It's really good at helping one visualize 3D forms, perhaps best before moving on to other 3D forms. I think it kind of offers a bit of a balance game between complexity and simplicity. Like, it's probably, it can make up a lot of different things. I mean, it can't be everything to everyone, because I think there is a lot to be said about drawing more organic forms. I think it's all like a balance game of a rigidity and organics. So what I just did here, this is going to look really, really confusing. Um, and yeah, it gets me sometimes too. Because the thing here is I just drew a box in which it has a 3D depth to it. Like this point here is the closest to the viewer. But this actually gets a little bit confusing because, well, not too confusing, but just know that like this side, this is the back, this is the front left, this is like the front right. We can't see this. This side is back. The bottom side here is pointing away from the viewer, and it's not really visible to us, but I just drew through my form to explain it. And this is like the top side, which is visible to the viewer. So we still only have 1, 2, 3 sides visible to the viewer, but the reality of our situation is that it's still a box with 6 sides. The other sides are just 4, 5, and 6, because they're like just not visible to the viewer. So I very well could have decided to just draw a plane instead of drawing the T-shape. And I have to say, I sometimes prefer to draw a plane to help hone out my boxes. Like, if you're trying to draw... I keep thinking of, like, a scorpion. Sometimes when I see a scorpion, it's, like, in a 3/4 view. I'll quickly try to draw, like, some type of shape, kind of like that, to summarize the body of the scorpion. And oops, I should have converged it a bit more. And I feel like by starting off with a plane, it really helps me add more architecture to further stretch out the body, or to kind of hone it out more and show the depth. The other important thing is it all depends on how you prefer to do it and how much detail you want to show. Like if you were drawing something like flat on, you could draw a box kind of like this, and you know if it's like at eye level, which would mean it's like sitting like halfway here, there's a good chance that you're only going to be able to see one side of the box, which is, it doesn't give the most detail unless you draw through your form. And in general, I feel like you rarely see these types of boxes in practice, besides for like something explaining the idea of eye level, or like an exercise, a drawing exercise. I feel like you only see those in certain books on perspective. But you know, you very well could have drawn a similar plane. And you feel free, you don't have to like just draw a plane right away. You could always plot out with like 4 dots. I think it can be helpful to plot with dots if you're just like freehanding it. I messed it up. But you know, I keep thinking like if we're above eye level in one of those books, you would see something like that, in which the only sides, like in this one, only the front side was visible. In this one, we have 2 sides that are visible, the front one and the top plane. I mean, the other planes are definitely still there. We just can't see it based on the perspective. But I believe by playing around with this, trying to take a stab at how things may sit in 3D space could be incredibly helpful. Maybe find something in your room or wherever you may be and try to look at boxes and try to summarize it, maybe even based on the perspective at how you're looking at it right now. The other thing that I think is a bit important is to, you don't always have to adhere to a strict box. You could always like maybe try to work out some other type of form. I mean, it's really up to you. The world is your oyster, as they say, with how you want to achieve different boxes. This was really bad. I'm doing some freehanding, so nothing's going to be 100% perfect. I also want to talk about maybe some weird things when it comes to boxes. Like maybe you're working with an organic form and you want to show like maybe some twisting. Well, and you definitely could do that. It's actually pretty cool when you do that, because I feel like it gives a little bit more freedom for you to be more loose with your forms. And I feel like if you do that, kind of do that, kind of do that. You can go further with how you may want to portray it. I feel like by doing a lot of these, it can help further yourself at doing all other types of shapes. I keep thinking, I think I did want to cover a couple more things. I guess by varying the also, like, maybe how much of a given side you want to show. That could also be another way, or even like the angle. I'm just doing this very, very sloppily. I'm not doing this with like the intention to design something more thought out. I keep thinking there are some other interesting things that you can do with T. I like to call this one in which it's like a bit more of a T shape. It's I'm trying to see if I can make that kind of even. It's not perfect, but it is just another idea of a way to use the T shape to accomplish this. This corner right here is going to be the closest to the viewer. It also does help to ghost your lines and try to plot points as you're trying to hone out further structure of the given box. And I know I didn't use a plane for this, but I'll have to do that. I keep thinking like if I was going to use a plane. The other important thing to note is I do try to ghost my lines a bit, even when I am ghosting a plane. It could be helpful for you to even just do some drawing of planes or just the T-shapes. But I always do recommend you try to draw more boxes. But I think planes could be helpful, because I feel like there's a lot more exaggeration that you can do as you hone out the ideas of working with it. So something more or less like that. You could always take it further and try to do the back as well, even though I'm being very sloppy. And I drew a plane over here instead of over here. I just drew a plane fast instead of drawing the whole T shape like I did over here. So I guess you'll have to experiment a lot with yourself to try to figure out what's the best method. I'd say another way is sometimes like you don't always have to pick the top plane, but I think it was always helpful to first start off by drawing a plane that is facing the viewer rather than one behind. I think by doing that, it kind of helps. I think it's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Perhaps you may say otherwise, and you may think otherwise, and if you believe that's the case, then I would go with it. But yeah, there's so much you can do. You could also like try to make planes that recede in 3D space. And I feel like that maybe is a bit of a shortcoming of using the T shape. Because say like I'm drawing a receding plane in 3D space. Kind of like that. But the reality of that is that it's still a plane that is just kind of like this. But yeah, I hope this video helps you out. If you have a question, please ask in the comments. If you like the video, please like it. And if you like my channel, please subscribe. I hope this video helped you think more about planes and using the T-shape to help to determine how to draw a box in 3D space. Thank you for listening. Bye.